It's been a few months since Altered TCG funded on Kickstarter, and the team at Equinox has been hard at work trying to get the game ready for us. Now, we've had a few updates since then, so the point of this video is just to make sure you are informed and up to date on the latest Altered TCG news as we head into summer and then the much anticipated release of the game. So without any further ado, let's make sure you've got the news you need and jump right into it. What's up everyone, it's Dan with Maindeck, and today I'm going to be giving you some of the critical information and updates that you need to know about Altered TCG as we head into its summer 2024 release. Now we've got 5 different topics to cover today. We'll be displaying them down on the screen below, and we'll have just a little visual aid here as we go through them, so let's jump right into them. Oh, and of course, links to all this information will be down in the description below, so if you want a little deeper information or you need to look into anything, go check that out and you'll find everything you need. Now, the first thing we have to talk about is that there was a slight, very small delay announced for the game, as well as a little quirk to how the printing is going to work. Now, unlike most delays to Kickstarters, this is not actually a delay that is going to impact the Kickstarter. This is a delay to the retail release of the game. So the official retail release of Altered TCG, now that the team has gotten closer and they can get a more accurate date, is September 13th, 2024. So if you did not get in on the Kickstarter and you're looking to buy product at retail from your FLGS or online, that is going to be available worldwide September 13th. As for the Kickstarter, we have some updated dates on when the Kickstarter is planned to release, with Europe getting their Kickstarter product delivered first in July, August for North America, and then somewhere between August and September for the rest of the world. Just depending on where you're located, it may be sooner or later in there. There is still no update on when the Game Genic supplies that came with the Kickstarter will be releasing, but I think we'll have an update on that in the fairly near future. For now, if you're waiting on your Kickstarter product, it'll be again July for Europe, August for North America, and then somewhere between August and September for the rest of the world. So very exciting. This also might be one of the first Kickstarter TCGs that didn't have a delay to when the TCG get delivered for Kickstarter product. I have to ask Card Game Crypt about that one, but to my knowledge, it doesn't happen very often, so that's pretty cool too. All right, now as for that printing quirk, this stems from the fact that Equinox had to spin up a couple of different printers to get the product printed to the demand of the Kickstarter and the retail release. So we have 2 different printers, Cardamundi and Ludofact, who are going to be printing product. And Cardamundi is the printer that is using a 2-step offset printing process to print the product for the European market. And while Ludofact is using entirely digital, Cardamundi, using this offset process, actually ends up having some of their QR codes shifted slightly off center. So if you're in the European market, you'll be getting Cardamundi cards in your booster packs, and those cards have the chance to have their QR codes slightly off center, where if you're in the US market or potentially other markets being printed by Ludofact, everything is being printed digitally, so there should be no QR codes off center. And once again, this will only impact the booster packs. Any print-on-demand services will be done digitally, and those should have perfectly aligned QR codes. It's just a minor thing, but I am sure it's going to maybe bug a couple of people, so I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. And here's an example on screen of the offset printing as well. Now, along with delaying the retail release by a couple of weeks, the team also released a roadmap for the digital components of Altered TCG. And as you all know, the digital part of the game is extremely important to the game. So the team made a couple of decisions here to try to make sure the most kind of complicated parts are done right and aren't launched, prematurely, maybe with bugs that are going to cause problems. And they've split up when different components of the digital app, the digital features, are going to be available to everybody. So we have up here the sort of the roadmap. They have the first thing we're going to get is July 2024, the gaming first launch, which is when the Kickstarter is going to begin arriving, as we just said, in Europe starting in July. The account registration and mass scan features, collection and lore, friend list, and then importantly, direct trading people to people. So from the start of the Kickstarter launch, you will be able to directly trade with no monetary transactions, cards between you and people on your friends list, as well as do all the things you need to be able to do, register your account, scan things in, etc. Now, if you just wait a little bit longer, September 2024, of course, lining up with that launch date of September 13th, all of the important stuff for playing in events are going to be available at release, which means the deck builder, event management, basic tournament tool notifications, the board game arena integration as well with your cards. So being able to play with your full collection on Board Game Arena is going to be available right on launch September 13th. So that's going to cover a lot of what we need. But if you are curious, I'm sure everyone's curious about the major components of it, the marketplace and print on demand features. As you can see here, those are being held off until Q4 in fiscal year 2024. So we're going to be waiting just a little bit longer, but it should be before the end of the year that we are going to get the marketplace and print on demand features. But as they've said, those involve working with other partners, whether that be their delivery partners for the print on demand or transaction partners for the digital marketplace. So they just want to make sure they get everything right there. That means the game is going to launch without that ability to do print on demand. And without that ability to sell cards immediately, which would be kind of an interesting time for the game, I think, as a lot of the buying and selling is going to, really want to be on that marketplace. We'll see how people start to navigate that right away, but it won't be a huge wait for that. And then shortly after the, Q4 release, sometime in Q1 of 2025, they are planning on really getting the final polish on the core planned components of the app. So we're going to have our pro tournament tool, sort of an upgrade to their current event management tool, as well as more services for shop owners so they can do things in bulk. And that pro tournament tool is intended to land right in time for when they're planning to have the first major events for Altered TCG, which is going to be around February or March 2025. So that's kind of the digital roadmap. Then they have a sort of envision the future. They're going to take suggestions. So if you have any ideas for things you would like to see implemented digitally, you can go ahead and head to the Altered Discord and drop that off for them there so that they can get that information. But they're already talking about things like doing personal record keeping, ladders, and then improving their season pass improvements, which I don't think I made it clear, but in the Meet the Adventure release feature, the adventure pass that they've talked about where you're going to be able to earn rewards by playing in your LGS, that is all going to be active right then, just as expected. So but that is the digital roadmap. So big thing to take away here is you're not going to have that marketplace and print on demand right on release, but most of the features that you need will be there. And the stuff that you need to get your collection scanned in will be available right when the Kickstarter starts to deliver to people. So be aware, that's what's coming. All right, now some of that news wasn't the most exciting in the world, but this one is super exciting. One of the most hotly asked questions was, what are the unique cards in Altered going to be like? Can we see examples of them? And finally, we've been delivered a number of, actually some uncut sheets and a bunch of other pictures of uniques that are going to give us now a very good idea of what these uniques really start to look like. I'll have them displayed here on the screen for you, at least some of them. I just want to show off. I think looking at these Atlas ones is one of the best ways to look at what we're getting at. We have Atlas cards for both Ortis faction and Bravos faction, and you can see they have some very interesting takes. Now, all of these Atlas cards have gigantic. Of course, Atlas has to be gigantic. So you can see these unique cards will tend to follow some sort of theme, getting at the essence of the character. I think they've said that before. And in addition to being unique, they've just got some sort of different effect, different stats on the line. You have one that lets you draw 3 cards when you control 2 or more landmarks. You have one that when it goes from the reserve to the expedition zone, you can pay 1 to create a recruit token. You have a Bravos one that's at dusk. If you control 2 or more boosted characters, you can discard target permanent. So you can have an Atlas that is going to sort of act as like board control instead of one that is like draw cards or one that is like purely stats. So you can see a pretty wide variety of what these unique cards are going to be like. And you're not only going to be looking at their effects, but also their adjusted costs, their adjusted stats. So it's just fun to finally get to see those. And now that we've seen these, you can maybe start to answer the question for yourself. Are you going to be hunting down particular uniques? Are you going to be using whatever uniques you open and building the rest of your deck around them? You can get an idea of how they will impact your deck building a little bit more now. And I'm very excited to see what uniques I end up with in my collection and which ones I want to find and start hunting down when the game finally releases. Now, as we head towards release, the next bit of news is that roadshows are once again starting up. So we will have a link in the description so you can go to the roadshow part of the Altered website and try to find where roadshows are going to exist near you. As usual, we've got these beautiful promo cards that you'll be able to get by playing in roadshows specifically, as well as, there'll be a rare slot, very rare chance in Kickstarter boxes as well. But if you want a guaranteed way of getting them, you want to head to a roadshow and try the game out there. And if you haven't gotten a chance to play Altered yet, this is the great opportunity for you. These roadshows are starting up as the game is again heading towards launch and is going to start ramping up its media campaign. They've said that they're going to have another similar to the Kickstarter, another media campaign to try and raise awareness about the game. And these roadshows are going to do it in addition to their attendance at all of the sort of major conventions, which we'll talk about in just a moment as well. And importantly, with this new set of roadshows, they are opening up. They had previously Canada, Germany, and the US, and they're now opening up Italy and Spain as well. So if you're in any of those regions, this might be a good opportunity for you to get your hands on a demo of the game, try it out, and get some really cool promo cards. So don't miss out on those. And finally, speaking of major events, let's talk about Gen Con. Just this past weekend, Gen Con's event registration went live, and Gen Con, of course, is the largest gaming convention in North America, but it's also the first major con close to Altered's release when the team at Equinox was planning to have their grand opening for the game, more or less. So there are a ton of Gen Con Altered events on the schedule. And unfortunately, I wish I could tell you that they were easy to get into, but many of these events have sold out. But I don't know why I say unfortunately. Actually, that means there is a lot of hype building for Altered at Gen Con. Now, as you're watching this, if you wanted to play in a booster draft, I believe all of those are totally sold out. There's still the possibility that you can bring generic tickets and see if there's a slot open if someone doesn't show up for the booster draft. You might still be able to get in that way, but if you want to get tickets locked in and seats reserved for any of these events now, booster drafts are sold out. A lot of the Learn to Plays are sold out, but there are still some on the schedule that are available as I am recording this. And as I'm recording this, I think most or all of the faction tournaments are still available with some seats as well. You can see there are some that still have somewhere between, a dozen or more seats available. The faction tournaments being the starter deck tournaments where you're going to pick a faction and play with your teammates using your starter decks, trying to be the faction that wins the most rounds. So this will be a ton of fun, a very casual event. And if you're looking just to dip your toes into Altered, even if you can't get into a booster draft, this is still going to be a great experience. So I do highly recommend joining those. And of course, all the events at Gen Con are going to have an exclusive Gen Con Hero promo card. So you want to make sure to jump in on that, get in on that, and I think you'll have a ton of fun either way. If you want to get registered for that, of course, gencon.com. Link will be down in the description for that. I would suggest joining in a faction tournament if you're planning on being there, even if you weren't able to get into a booster draft. But if you were able to get into those events, or if you're able to show up with generic tickets and sort of sneak your way into a booster draft, that's an option, and that could be really cool as well. I hope you are able to get into the events that you want to, and I'm looking forward to getting to see a lot of you there. Gen Con is an event we go to every single year, and I will be at several of these Altered events, as well as probably hanging around there more or less throughout the weekends. Feel free to send me a message on Discord if you're there and you want to just meet up at some point. I'll see if I can fit it in. But that is going to be the Gen Con experience, almost totally sold out. By the start of the con, it might be entirely sold out, so don't wait too long if you are planning on jumping into some of those events as well. And that's going to do it. Those are our news updates for Altered TCG in May 2024. I hope you're now a little more informed. There were actually some pretty big updates here that prompted me to kind of just compile them all into one video for you. I hope it didn't take too long. I hope you found it somewhat enlightening or interesting, or you just enjoyed listening to me jabber on about Altered for a little bit. I'm looking forward to getting to see you all at Gen Con and getting to finally get real cards in our hands and play them and scan them in the app and all the kind of cool stuff that's going to come with that. So let me know in the comments down below if you have any questions, or if there's anything that you want me to cover in a future Altered video. I will have some more Altered content coming soon, especially as we start to head towards release. I'm planning on releasing a few more sort of informational type videos, but if there's anything in particular that you want to see covered, I would love to get your comment down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that one, and we'll see you in the next one.